Live. I didn't myself. That's okay. Lots of people already. Full disclosure, I was just having a little bit of an issue with my microphone. Can someone just let me know in the chat if they can hear me okay? I would hate to. You can hear me, it's okay. Hear you fine. Perfect. That's really good. As I just had to do my last meeting. Well, I just had to let the other person talk, and I just sort of sagely nodded along with the points, which is cool. Just what you need. So thanks to everyone who's joined and is joining. I'm going to give it a couple of minutes just before we start, just to make sure that those who are slightly late to the party don't miss the opening. Let me share my screen so you can see what it is we're going to be discussing today. So I'm sure most of you know, we're going to be talking about direct ads. Going to be a few different bits today. So mainly looking at what they are, when to use them, and really I've got a feeling that it's going to be more sort of questions that are going to come through today, that are going to drive this. So if you do have any questions, or if you're curious to know more about direct ads, please do leave me a question, and I'll do my best to answer it if it's not answered during this. It's a difficult one to get right, so I've tried to kind of keep it relatively top level so people get an understanding of what we're doing, but enough jargon in there that makes it worthwhile. So hopefully there's a balance been struck. But if there's something that you want to know and I don't get around to mentioning it, just throw something in the chat, throw something in the Q&A, and I will do my best to get around to you and answer it if I can. If I can't, I will go away and get the answer and get it back to you. It's always cool to know where people are from as well, so like throw in the chat, and let me know what's happening where you are, and we can take it from there. I see there's a few direct ad styles questions. What I'm going to do is run through everything. I probably will touch on the answer to some of those questions, and hopefully get back to you as we're going through. If it's still not right, I promise that I will touch on everything that's being asked before I leave. So we'll make sure that everyone gets answers to their questions. What else have we got? We've got a question about EPMV. I'm going to focus, Gasm, on this for this webinar on direct ads. If that's okay. The general consensus is that it's slightly lower than it was in December, which I'm sure all of you are aware. Seasonality and ad rates, these things tend to go in cycles. January tends to be the worst time of the year, December the best, and the fact that they come after one another often exacerbates the drop. So just something to be aware of. Someone from Canada, relatively warm and soggy, but the snowstorm later. Yo's from LA, it's very nice. Derek's from Michigan, says nice guitars. Thank you. Cool. I think give it another minute to 5 minutes past, and I normally tend to kick it off. Slightly fewer slides today as well, because I do anticipate there will be quite a few questions, or that's my expectation, is that there will be questions that come off stuff that we discussed. So yeah, feel free to throw them in, and like I said, I will do my best as always to try and answer them. Cool. With that in mind, I'm going to make a start. So welcome. My name is Paul Round, and I'm one of the publisher success managers here at Ezoic. I work with some of the larger accounts that we have on the platform. I've been doing account management now for about 9 years. Split between pharmaceutical and the tech industry. So before I was here, I was working for Pfizer. I did that for about 5 years, and now I'm here. I've been at Ezoic for nearly 3. Away from websites and the computer, I'm a keen sportsman. I like to run. I play a lot of field hockey. and play golf when I can, when I have the time. And apart from that, I'm also a big, I should say soccer, I guess, the audience. I'm a big football, as we call it, football fan. And you know, my team that I support have been rubbish for a very long time until they were recently purchased and had a lot of money put into them, which is Newcastle United. So I feel that all the years of suffering in London as a Newcastle fan will hopefully pay off in the coming weeks, months, years, but we'll have to wait and see. So as I said, today we're going to be talking about direct ads. So that's pretty much what's in tap. We're going to talk about like what they are, when we should look to use them. I've put together a very, very short but pretty comprehensive checklist of questions to ask. So if someone approaches you and says, hey, I'd like to advertise on your page, I would say at the bare minimum, these are the answers that we should be looking to get before we consider whether it's a good deal or not. And then I also, I'm going to do pretty much a walkthrough of how our tool works. So you get an understanding of, right, okay, these are the steps that I need to follow. And also offer some troubleshooting and advice. So, you know, if you just run into an issue, these are the things that I would check. But again, these are the things that have probably come up as we're going through. So I'll do my best. I've got the questions open on one of my screens, the presentation on the other. If you want to ask questions, put them in the Q&A, and if they're relevant to what I'm talking about, I'll do my best to answer them there and then. If not, I'll probably triage them on the go, and we'll deal with them at the end. So I have built in time for Q&A. One of the questions or comments in the chat is, will these slides or video be available to watch later? The answer is yes, they will. All of the videos are put up onto the YouTube channel. So you can go ahead and watch them there. The slides, I believe, are also attached. So yes, is the answer to that. This should all be available after. So essentially, I just wanted to start pretty much at the beginning with what direct ads are. Obviously, the majority of what we do is programmatic. So there's the online auctions, bidding, header bidding, and you know, there's a lot of terminology and different avenues we could have gone down with this, but I thought I'd just keep it slightly more focused and discuss direct deals. So in essence, they are a deal that you yourself has gone out and practically sourced directly, if you will. Or it could be that, you know, as I mentioned earlier, the situation whereby someone approaches you and says, hey, I see that you have an article on your page which is all about guitars. I am promoting guitars. Can I advertise on your site? So that's really what we're talking about when it's direct deals. It's slightly more old school. It's how the advertising industry used to work. You know, it used to be publishers also had to be, you know, ad sales in the sense that they had to go out and secure the advertising inventory to put onto the page. Obviously, all of that is now streamlined, and when you see the steps that are required, it's good that it's moved in this direction because it is quite time consuming as a process. As I said here, you know, the process is somewhat convoluted, especially if you're sort of new to ads. If you have a basic understanding of HTML and how to build a website, which lots of our publishers do, then I'm sure some of this will make sense, especially when we're looking at what ad tags actually are. But we'll cross that bridge when we get there. But it will sort of demonstrate why the majority of people go down the programmatic route. The publishers that I work with tend to use direct deals in very specific circumstances. So, you know, there are publishers who, well, like I said, they'll be running an article on HelloFresh, and HelloFresh will sponsor the page. So the only ads that appear on the page are directly related to the content. And, you know, this is another example here of a publisher who was doing an article on Disney Plus, and all the ads that we put to the page were Disney Plus created. So it was very relevant, very contextualized to what the publisher was looking for. And setting something like this up isn't overly complicated. We can use key values and meta tags, but I'm not going to go into that in too much detail today, if at all, because, you know, setting up meta tags, I feel is a different topic again. That can be discussed in its own sort of separate webinar. Had a question come in. So, do Ezoic provides direct ads for free, or mainly do we need to speak to advertisers to get direct ads? Yeah. So this is essentially, we have a tool that enables you to run these ads through the Ezoic system. So it's not like an unwrapped ad. You know, we have full visibility over it. It's taken into the system. It's served in Ezoic placeholders. But it's something that you go and you serve yourself. And like, if any of you have mediation set up, you know that the revenue that's generated through mediation is paid out by third parties, it's not paid out by Ezoic, and that's the same with direct ads. So if you go and agree a deal with a company, it will be up to them to ensure that they pay you for what has been negotiated. So the question being, can this be, you know, higher paid than normal ads? The answer is yes. And actually, I have an example later where I sort of do a semi case study looking at how to negotiate and what we should be considering. So with that in mind, I wanted to just break it down and just share some terminology. And I actually have some articles that I've taken directly from Ad Manager. So I've got the basics, and then there's a bit more detail that I can supply if you want some further reading for after this webinar. So without hesitation, a bit of terminology when it comes to direct ads. So you might see, if you're negotiating or been in consultation with a third party around running a direct deal, they'll use certain words and terms, and it can be a bit confusing at first. So I've tried to break it down into a pizza analogy, because to me that makes sense. So essentially, there's three different things to be aware of. We have orders, we have line items, and creatives. So essentially, an order is the agreement between the publisher and the advertiser, and in Ad Manager, that's like the main block, or in essence, if you want, it's like calling up Domino's and ordering your pizza. The line item is the commitment to purchase a specific number of impressions. So in that sense, it would be like, I would like to order 30 pizzas. And then the creative is the actual ad content that is delivered to you, the user. So you're choosing your pizza. So you can break it down from the larger scale of the institution to the order to the actual physical individual items, which is what the creatives are. So something that she said they need to leave early. Where can we find the videos? It's something that I was going to share later, but I will share with you now. So we have this Weekly Walk-Thru YouTube channel. Everyone, which has all of the videos that we've ever done, the Weekly Walk-Throughs are available to watch in there. So it's a really useful resource if you have questions on other topics outside of direct ads. And on that, I'm also going to share this Ad Manager link. You can see it on the slide, but here we go. This is a bit of further reading when it comes to what orders, line items, and creatives are, so a bit of a better understanding. So on top of that, not all ads are created equal or have the same order of importance within Google Ad Manager. Now, I am mentioning Google Ad Manager a fair bit. Our Direct Deals app is essentially an API pull through to Ad Manager. So information that you put into the Direct Deals app is pulled through, and we automatically create those orders in our Ad Manager and serve it from there. So essentially what that means is anything that you can run through Google Ad Manager, you can run through the Ezoic Direct Deals app. So that hopefully should give you an understanding of what we can and can't do. But as I said, there are different levels of ad types and priorities that exist within GAM to make sure the system knows like how important this is and when it should and shouldn't be served. So, for example, if someone comes to you and they want to do like a whole page takeover, or they want to make sure that their ads are seen for 3 days for a month, and it has to be seen in certain places, this is when we would go ahead and select sponsorship. And I'll show you in a sec where the drop-down menus are within. So sponsorship, as it says here, serves based upon defined percentage of impressions and a start and end time. So for the next month, I want 100% of the impressions to be on the homepage. Perfect. Okay, that's a sponsorship. It's a high priority. We can go in and put that in. It will supersede Ezoic ads. So this is an instance whereby if we're committing to a sponsorship, we want to make sure that we're getting the right value for those ads. And I will show you how to do that. I see someone try to put their hand up. If you could throw the question into the Q&A, I'll make sure I get to it within there, if that's all right. The second highest level of priority that exists within Ad Manager is standard. So this is where someone comes to you and says, hey, I have 100,000 impressions that I want to serve across the site. I want that to be done over 4 days. Is that possible? First, I'd make sure that actually you're serving enough impressions for that to be possible, because the fill rate is important. If someone says, hey, can you do this? I want 100,000 impressions at this CPM, and you only manage to fill half of those impressions, then the CPM is actually half because you haven't generated enough revenue from serving those impressions. if that makes sense. So yeah, that's the second one, and is used, for that sort of fixed period of time of, I would like to serve this many ads in this time period. Not everyone has to see that. Typically with these, we tend to see frequency caps. So people will say this many impressions, but I only want it to be 3 per user per day. Otherwise, if someone's on the site for a long time and they see the same ad like 100 times and do nothing with it, it's not good value for the publisher or for the advertiser really. So just be aware that that does exist. Another type that we see quite frequently is price priority. And this one makes sense. It's a case whereby, so you're running Ezoic and we also have these ads in the background. Say Ezoic typically gets a CPM of 3 and this deal is priced in at 250. Whenever Ezoic earns more, this triggers and this creative is, the Ezoic creative is selected. However, if it drops below that, could be low value user, it could be the traffic stream wasn't right, could be the country origin where the user's coming from, determines that actually they're a lower value user, we can fall back and we can serve one of these price priority ads. It'll probably pay more than what had been served programmatically, so it kind of covers you that way. But essentially it's a fallback. It's a case of, if nothing will be served, we can serve this instead. Now, typically, sometimes at Ezoic, if we're seeing that bid rates are dropping and it's not worth showing the creative, we won't choose to serve an ad to encourage advertisers to bid more, because we don't want to set a precedent that bids can continue to drop and people eventually pay less and less for the inventory when we know that we can manipulate that to keep it higher. And then house tends to be served when no one else wants anything. See often publishers who maybe are advertising one of their own products will tend to serve it via house. So it's like, if nothing else shows, then perfect, we can put this in. But that would be the best case, or the use case for house ads. And as promised on this one too, I have this ad manager support article, which explains a little bit more about the different types, different priorities, and goes into more detail than is necessary about the different points that are assigned to the different items to ensure that they're served. But if you're curious and want a bit of extra reading about how Ad Manager works, by all means, the information is shared with you within that. Okay, so I guess one of the questions that a few people will have is like, how do I get this set up? Like, where do I go? How does it work and what does it look like? And hopefully over the next 10 slides, we're going to go through that and sort of go through the process of getting a deal set up. Pardon me. So I'm going to start with the question. I've been approached for this direct deal. What do I do next? Like, where do I go? For many people, the idea about being approached is always like this is brilliant. This clearly is going to be good for me because they've reached out and they want to advertise. And yeah, that's true. It's always exciting when someone is actively seeking you out to try and bid on your site and put inventory on your site. But at the same time, it's also important to make sure that the deal that's in place and the deal that's on offer is actually going to be beneficial and valuable for you. As I've said here, like otherwise, like what's the point? Why are we doing this? And I've seen a lot of publishers who have, accepted a deal without doing sort of due diligence, and as a result, they find themselves in a situation whereby they are underselling the value or the true value of their site, and are making less than they would have been had they just decided to use programmatic. So we need to make sure that it's going to be worthwhile and it's going to be good and beneficial for you in the long run. So I guess the questions that I would always say, so if someone says to me, someone's approached me, I would say that these 4 are some of the most important ones to get a good understanding of, because then that will set the basis of what we're doing next. So where are they looking to target? How much are they offering? Like, what's the CPM? How long will it run for? And what type of deal is it? If we get the answers to all 4 of those, we'll be in a very solid position where we understand exactly what the advertiser is looking for. So I would always ask those questions. So from a point, this is quite an important slide to sort of be aware of and have at the back of your mind if you're going through this process, which I believe someone was, because there was a question earlier, but I'm going to say that one to the end if that's okay. I believe it was from Benjamin. So I will get around to that, but just not quite yet. So yeah, I'd make sure you get the answer to all four of those, because the value at the top of the page is very different to the value at the bottom of the page ad versus a sidebar ad versus a, hey, I only want a 970 by 250. Okay, that will be priced differently to a 300 by 250. So we need to make sure that we understand the data to ensure that we're appropriately pricing yourself, your site, your hard work. You want to make sure you get the best value. With the direct deal app as well, in its current format, we only do display. It's not currently a CPC. I know that we're looking to improve this functionality, but it's not currently there. And it's something that I've submitted a task for the team to work out and improve, which would be great. And again, I put a reminder in here about fill rate. So I wouldn't overcommit and promise advertisers that you can deliver more than you can, because if you can't, it's going to be half as valuable, or pick the percentage that you can fill, and that's the percentage of value that you should get. So someone's got in touch, they've offered you a deal to show an ad at the top of the page on your site at a $1.60 CPM. Is this a good deal? Is the question. So you can see in the graph, or the image of the graph, I've highlighted the top of the page, have a look at the RPM, and we can see that the value here is 152. So 160 is higher than I'm currently getting. So that looks to be good. So we can see that straight away. This could be a good deal. I would say now that when we're dealing with direct deals, when we're looking at this information, we can always ask for slightly more than what the data is showing us. So if you think about the online advertising ecosystem, if you think about how many people there are along the pathway that take a cut, I think it's something like 30 cents of every dollar disappears and is taken by intermediaries or trafficking fees, you name it. It's sort of taken along the way. So any kind of value that we see here, we know that we can push a little bit more. And essentially, if advertisers are coming to you directly, they're trying to circumnavigate that. So they're probably prepared to pay what they're already paying, but for you, it can be slightly higher. But back to this, 160, would we think that's a good deal? Anyone want to share in the chat that they think it's a good deal or not? Not worth time and effort. I'd say that's for that uptick. Yeah, probably not worth the time and effort. But is this actually what we're looking at? This is the whole picture. Let's check it out. So I've broken it down even further. I've had a look at desktop versus mobile. So it depends again, which device they want to target, and the ad sizes that's involved. If this was a mobile deal only, 110 to 160, yeah, that's it's a decent jump. It's more than I was getting before, but I would still agree with what people said in the chat. I would look for a little bit more than what we're getting there. But if this was a desktop deal, it's not a good deal, because you can see that the average top of the page value is 321. So I'd be underpricing my inventory just by going off the snapshot and not actually drilling in and having a look at what I could actually charge. Now you can see, the much more traffic on mobile. So in that essence, it could be a good deal, but I would say probably not in this instance. As I've said in my notes, it's a compromise deal. It would have been done blind without actually really understanding what could have been appropriately charged. So for the cut taken on the way, I don't think it's worth it. So it's really important to understand the value of your inventory before getting involved in direct deals, because there's the potential to vastly undersell your site. Another one as well as a caveat is, if you're going in and looking at this data, make sure that you are selling appropriately to where we are in the year. So if someone came to you and, said in December, I want to take over all your top of the page ads, and you went back and you had a look at, say from now, they're booking it for December 2020, you had a look at what we're currently earning with the December of January ad rates, it's going to be considerably lower than it would be in December. So you need to make sure that when you're negotiating these, you price appropriately, you look at the right information, to ensure that we understand that we're going to get the best offer them. So where do we go? Sorry, just one question. Is yield data and big data analytics? Yield data is available for premium publishers. If you're not on premium, I'd speak to your account manager, see if they can help you with it, because if there's a question, see if they can help you with, if you're interested in premium, being put forward for it, but also if you have questions around, performance in that sort of sense, it's available there. And I believe it's also a feature in Ezoic Pro, but I would have to double check with you, Derek, on that one. But if you go to your settings and type in Pro in the search bar, I believe it's available in there too. So where do I find the direct deals app? So we get to itself. So we go to dashboard, we go to monetization, and then we scroll down, and then we have this box here, which is add direct ad order. So we go in there, and when we're setting up direct ad orders, as I said, it's essentially an API that pulls through directly into Google Ad Manager. So if you have any experience in there, this should appear quite familiar to where we are. There are 3 steps or 3 pages of information when we're outlining the information. And again, I've gone through and I've broken down everything that's required in here. So of the 3 pages that we need an order name so that it is categorized appropriately in our GAM. So remember, order is the large sort of top line level, the commitment, if you will, between yourself and the advertiser. We then need the type. So in the Ezoic dashboard, you can see that there's a drop-down menu, and the ones that we discussed earlier, there's sponsorship, standard, there's house, and there's price priority. And based on what you've discussed with the advertiser, you click the appropriate option, and the system saves it. We put in the CPM that's been negotiated with the advertiser, goal percentage, so how much of the impressions we want to show. Usually it's 100%. Start and end date, and then that's the first page done. It's all fairly self-explanatory, but I feel like it's useful to go through this, make sure that everyone understands where we are. Second page is where we go through and we put the inventory in. So if someone has given you, 3 creatives, a 300 by 600, 200 by 250, and a billboard, so 170 by 250, we just select them from the drop-down menu, and that's it. That's perfectly put in place. The display creatives, we have a couple of options in that drop-down menu. We have 1 or more, only 1, or as many as possible. So depending on, what settings you have, you could have 3 different 970 by 250s, but you only want to show 1. We can set that up, or you can rotate them. And again, that's the similar sort of idea as what the rotate creatives option is. We can either rotate them evenly, so we just cycle AB, AB, or if it looks like one of the creatives is performing significantly better with click-through rates, go ahead and set it to optimized, and that's the one that will be shown to more users because it's working better, and you want to get value for money there. And then frequency cap, as I mentioned earlier, it's often useful to have a frequency cap to make sure that you're not wasting impressions on the same person over and over and over and over and over. So you can go in, you can set that up, you can do it by the day, hour, week, month, up to you, depending on how the deal's running and what parameters you want to set. At the top here as well, we have a toggle to exclude or include. So you can say if someone who is just looking to target people in France, I can just put include France, and then it will only target that sort of section. The country targeting that we have in the direct ads app is very good at top line, but currently in this app there isn't the ability to drill down into postcodes. That functionality exists in Google Ad Manager. So again, if it's a case whereby someone approached and said, I only want this ad to show in the very specific zip code, a message will come to me. I can go in, I can tweak stuff on the back end, and we can get it set up. Not the end of the world, but again, the functionality will be coming to the front end soon. Device targeting, as I said earlier, is this just a mobile? Is it just a desktop ad? We can go and set that up. Targeting wise, where it says all positions, we go through and we say, I'd like this to be the top of the page, or sidebar one, or in content one, and it maps to the Ezoic placeholders that we have in place. And then key value targeting, as I mentioned, is something that we can do when we're looking to sort of do a very specific ads to a very certain page. But I think that's in a sense a whole other webinar within itself, and something I don't want to delve too far into today, as it will sort of muddy the waters. And this is actually what an ad tag looks like. So some of you may not come across this before. But essentially, if you've done any basic HTML, that you'll know that a href is a link, and you know that an src is an image. But when we put them together inside this code, it creates an ad tag. So you can see here that click-through URL of your choice. You just copy and paste this whole block, and you replace this with the click-through URL, and then the creative just goes there in the image, and that's it. It's just that simple. But like, you'll be aware if you've done any basic coding that, you know, if you accidentally leave a space between click-through and the dot here, the link won't work because it's not set up correctly. If there's, you know, mistakes in the image tag, it won't work because it's not set up correctly. So one of the things that I do recommend is when we're setting these creatives up, there is this code in Ezoic that sits there, and you can just copy and paste it and then put your information in to help reduce errors. Copy and paste is always your friend when dealing with users. And yeah, this is what a deal looks like when we're editing the creative. So if you think back to here when we were going through and selecting the ad sizes that we need to go through then and add the creative to each of those different deals to make sure that's set up correctly. But you can see as below the click-through rate, the click-through URL, the image tag, and it's good to go. And then it'll appear, goes through to GAM, and then it appears on the site. It's just that simple. It's worth knowing that the main Ezoic account that we have runs on Central US time. So if you're a European publisher looking to upload a direct deal, just touch base to make sure that the start time is set up appropriately, because it could end up starting 6 hours after 6 hours after you would like it to start at the moment. But again, I have another request in so that we match this app to your login details so that we set it to the appropriate time. But we'll get there one step at a time. And on top of that as well, you know, there's analytics that are available within the Direct Deals app, which explain how it's performing. So you can see impressions versus clicks. So you get an understanding of what the ad is doing for you. And again, you can see it on the top. You can break this down by device, by the day, by certain creatives. So all the information and reports that you get in GAM. Sure. And that is essentially how we go about negotiating and uploading a direct deal into our system. I appreciate that there are probably going to be questions, and I can see that there are a few. So I'm going to start with some of them. But if there is anything that you'd like me to go through in more detail or anything, just throw it in the chat. I'll do my best to get back to you. So August asked me if we wanted to run a small percent of our ad inventory with house ads, leading as promoting features of our site brand. Is this possible? And if so, what would be the best method to do this? It would be nice to be able to set this like a PSA option. Yeah, you could definitely do that. It wouldn't be too hard to do. It'd be a case of, do we need to go through direct deals, or if there's, you know, I guess if it's, yes, I think direct deals would be a good one. And something that we can definitely help with. Yeah, we can definitely do that. This is going to be uploaded on his YouTube channel. When will this be uploaded so I can rewatch it? Thank you. It should be uploaded as soon as I well, I would expect this afternoon. So I shared the link to the YouTube channel earlier on. So I'll just relink it again. I'd expect it to be up there probably tomorrow. At the earliest. It depends how quickly someone can turn it around and get it uploaded, I guess. It's your data. Answer that one. Can I copy the tag into chat? Yeah, I can grab a copy of what it looks like. So go to a site very quickly and grab it for you, but that shouldn't be a problem. But like I said, it's available in all Ezoic dashboards when you're going to set up when you're going to set up the deal. It should be there as an option on the page. Almost there. Just go for it. On the side, it's related to the size of the creator that we select. So yeah, it should be fine in that sense. Can we run direct ads from our own products and sales platforms like Amazon and Best Buy with affiliate links? Have an ad to run. We can run our own to make sales. I'm not sure affiliate links runs through the Direct Deals app at this moment in time. You can run affiliate links on the page. That's fine, but as I was saying with house or price priority, you could set up deals for your own products and upload them into the system so that as and when Ezoic ad isn't a sufficient value, it can call something in that sort of sense. Let's see here. Another question from Benjamin. We have a placeholder page. It is the only placeholder for the setting. We only want other ads to show in this placeholder. Have with price priority targeting the position of the page and very high CPM to achieve this. Okay. However, we still get ads. How can we achieve this? Ads by this placeholder, do CPM values and ads will influence organizations independently. Is it possible to create? I'm sorry, I'm reading this very fast. No, that's not great. Oh, sorry. Is it possible to create a sponsoring direct ad order with CPM 0 within paid fixed prices per week, CPM values making a mess of our statistics with 0? We don't get as to show. Okay. So I would say it sounds like, and this one, if we want the ad to show all the time, it's not price priority. It sounds more like it should be a sponsorship to ensure that we're guaranteeing this location. What we can do as well is there's a setting that's on Ezoic placeholders, which some of you may have seen in the past, but haven't known what it does, which is called always compete. When we're looking to choose placeholders, so for example, if you have, I'm just going to go an example here, a 970 by 250 at the top of the page that you want to always show, the system will, check other variables that are available, especially in a price priority situation. It will say, although we have this lined up, the fact that you have different sizes enabled, it will say on a price priority basis, this ad is going to earn more. Therefore, this is the better option to choose. Whereby if we want a 970 by 250 to always be in contention for the ad that's selected, we can just tick that button and it will be there. But it sounds like we just need to tweak some of the settings, Benjamin, on this one, and it should be set up and good to go. More than happy if I just drop you my email address here. I can take a look at this one for you and make sure that it's all set up. Shouldn't be a problem. Do CPM values and direct ad orders influence Ezoic optimization? Are they running independently? No, it shouldn't do. Shouldn't interact in that sense. Is it possible to create a sponsorship direct ad order with CPM 0? Yeah, it is. We're getting paid fixed prices. Is making a statistic. Yeah, it should be fine to do that as well. But again, if you're running it on a price priority, it definitely won't show on 0 because it will see that the price is 0 and not worth it. So we'll just need to change that a little bit. But like I said, I've dropped you my email. I think those few small changes will fix that one. It will fix that one. I don't want to question myself. It will fix that one. All good. Does Ezoic have plans to add a tool for direct ad price estimates to offer advertisers? The current yield plus 30% or whatever it thinks is a good deal. So it's funny you should mention this. It's something that we are trying to find a link to share. So we have something that we're building for publishers who are part of the accelerator program. We're building a direct sales page, which essentially gives advertisers information about the site, what they can expect from CPM. You can see my screen. So it shows here, for people looking to come and run direct deals, this is the number of monthly visitors, pages, time of site, return visitor rate, and then the ability to come and negotiate. So it shows you the page views. And then this is something that we pick up and we handle on our end. So we are, for certain publishers, yes, absolutely. Putting that in place and, working towards, driving more revenue and those direct deals for you guys. I think we've hired a couple of new salespeople to work as part of that team to pick that up to make sure that we're continuing to offer value there. Jürgen, is there a way to see whether the Ezoic direct sales team successfully followed a lead? If you message me, I can ask them and find out for you. That's not a problem. If it's not implemented, it could be that although the lead was seemed like a good offer, when we evaluated it, either it didn't perform well, didn't sort of compete successfully with the other demand that we had in place. Quite often we see competitors come in and make bold claims and live up to it. But yeah, if you got me a message, Jürgen, I can go and speak to Jen, who's head of sales. What do you say? That's right. Oh no, will there be a replay so I can catch up on the first part? Yeah, this will be absolutely put up on our Weekly Walk-Thru channel. I've shared it a few times in the chat. I don't know if you just arrived. Links, you can view it. So I will. Pardon me. I will share it again. So yeah, this whole thing is being recorded, so you can watch that. And the slides should be attributed to it too. So excellent. I was approached by a Japanese toy manufacturer for a deal during Black Friday weekend, and I scoured the net to find out what my site was worth. I then gave them my offer, but they declined. This tool will be helpful next time. Yeah, it's really useful. The analytics section of so big data analytics is one of the, I'd say one of the more powerful and more valuable tools that we have, but it's one of the things that I feel people sometimes feel, I don't know if intimidated phrase, but just don't know really where to start. I'd say on an aside from this, that the yield reports obviously are very useful for this specific circumstance, but there's so much information in there. So, categories on your pages, like which categories are earning you the most money? Are you spending your time focusing on generating pages with that content? How do your pages monetize? What are the best length of articles? Who are the better authors for you? All of this stuff can be taken from within the tool and then actioned in order to drive better results. So this is just another example of, I guess, knowing that it exists to know that it exists. So with that, you can definitely go ahead and find better information. Yeah, we don't want to produce unproductive overhead. But if you drop me a message, I can definitely go and see what's happening, because every now and again, advertising partners turn out to be great, and then if they're useful, we roll them out across the network. So yeah. Bit of a lull in questions. What's the time? It's 1:45. So we've still got another I'll give it another 5-10 minutes. So if people have questions, I'm more than happy to answer them. Garrett says, what should we do if advertiser wants a whole page ad that Ezoic wants to do programmatically? So you're talking about like a skin takeover? Yeah, yeah, that is something that we can do. It's not in the app because it's used so very infrequently on Ezoic because it just is. It's not something that we really look to source. We have run skin takeovers in the past on certain sites. I know last Christmas we had quite a few sites that had a Mercedes running on the site for a select couple of sites. But as I said at the start, we basically run our direct deals through GAM, Google Ad Manager. So anything that can be run through Google Ad Manager, we can run. So I mean, I've set up and run skin ads in the past. It's more manual than using the direct deals app, but it is something that we can do. And it's the same with some of the other bits. So obviously, I mentioned the way that ad tags work in the direct deals app. If, for example, the advertiser in question supplies you with just like a generic JPEG and it doesn't work with the app, I can go in on the back end and upload it into our GAM as well. So we can come up with workarounds and solutions to most of the problems that we face. It's not a problem. So yes, we can do that. But again, the question comes back to, is it going to be worth it? Are your readers going to like the whole page ad? Is the value going to outweigh the disruption it can cause? Hopefully. Ooh. Give it another 3 minutes. No other questions coming in. We can do it. I said I had examples of successful direct ads to share with us. One of the screenshots early on was from a publisher who was running these ads. So this is just an example of the way that it's been utilized in the past. But there's quite a few sites who do their revenue through direct deals. But it tends to be publishers who are more confident in that side of the industry. Have the good connections, and as I said, like there's a lot more that can go wrong versus just straight programmatic. And this not a problem. It's oh, there's a few. I clicked answered, not open. I thought I'd answered. Right. I think we've probably come to a natural conclusion, guys. If there's no more questions, I'm going to go ahead and say thank you very much for attending. Hopefully I found it interesting. I'm sorry if the sound quality wasn't great. As I said at the start, I was having issues after updating to Windows 11. It seems to have reset a few of my drivers. So that's tonight's job to get that fixed. But hopefully you'll hear me well enough. If not, I think most people on this call at some point have seen my email address or know how to get in touch with me. Just drop me a message and I'm more than happy to help out in any way I can. But until next time, I hope you guys have a great evening, day, afternoon, wherever you are. And yeah, until the next time, guys. See you later.